Great. So we're here and we're live. I'm going to ask, yes, cameras are coming on and we're ready to go. Thank you so much for making the time to come and join us in this little chat. My name is Sophia McCain. I'm from Jamaica. I am the head of department for dance education at the Edna Manley College here in Jamaica. I was the coordinator of the junior department for quite a number of years, been involved in daCi, been to conferences in different parts of the world, had an amazing time, and words cannot express how excited I am for this conversation that we're going to have today. I want you to feel comfortable, so you don't have to feel too nervous about having the right answers. There's no such thing as the right answers. I mean, just speak your truth and we'll be good, right? So I want to just mention just briefly an introduction of persons who are here. And if you want to add a little more, to say a little more about yourself, you can feel free, all right? So we have everyone here is very special, right? And I want to thank you for making the time to come in. So I introduce myself, I'm Sophia McCain. I'll operate as kind of a moderator, but really and truly today's session is about speaking with Norma Sue Fisher-Stitt and Nancy Francis, who are both the co-chairs for the daCi 2022 virtual conference, right? So they're really on the hot seat, and they'll be interviewed by some of our children, students, members of dance companies that have been involved with daCi and that are still involved with daCi. And they're gonna pick your brains to find out a little bit about you and also what is coming up for daCi 22, right? So just to give you a little bit about each panelist. So Norma Sue Fisher-Stitt is a graduate of Canada's National Ballet School and a former dancer with the National Ballet of Canada. She's a full professor in the Department of Dance in York University in Toronto, where she has taught in the studio, as well as courses in dance education and dance history. Dr. Fisher-Stitt is the author of The Ballet Class, A History of Canada's National Ballet School, 1959 to 2009, and she has presented papers at numerous international conferences. She is the former daCi treasurer and currently is working on plans for the daCi 2022 conference together with her co-chair. And her co-chair would be Nancy Francis. And Dr. Nancy Francis began her career teaching in schools as a children's physical education specialist, with a passion to change the traditional sport model of physical education to an inclusive, movement-based program of games, gymnastics, and dance. She taught future teachers at 2 Canadian universities for over 40 years. Nancy's expertise in dance education, which was particularly valued, took her teaching and research to the path of dance curriculum and pedagogy. She is the co-author of Children and Movement, Physical Education in the Elementary School, numerous other research papers and workshops, served as the co-chair of daCi Canada, and had also attended the very first daCi conference in 1978. Can you believe that? Nobody here looks like they've been to the 1978 conference. I would never have guessed. And she is pleased to be with us. So we want to welcome Dr. Fisher-Stitt and Dr. Francis, who are here. You can wave so we can see, okay, and their names are there. All right, so we want to say thank you, very important people that have made the time to talk with us. All right, now we move on. I'm going to quickly give you just a little idea of those who will be doing the interview. So these are our students, and we have various age groups. We have somebody who's 12, someone who's 10, someone who is 14, someone who is older than that. So we have various ages and we're very excited. So of course, if I pronounce your name incorrectly, no offense meant, you can correct me when you are ready to speak. All right, so I'm going to start with A, B alphabetically. Let's go with Barbados. So Zaria Wade is 14 years old. She has been dancing for 10 years. She started with Praise Academy of Dance Barbados and is now a current member of Pizzazz Dance Studio. Her favorite genre is hip hop. All right, Zaria, you can wave. Nice, nice, nice. And Zaria is here as well. Shama Harding is the daCi National Representative for Barbados. And Shama is here. So welcome, welcome, Shama. Thanks for coming. All right, ABC from Canada. We have Kaya Lee. Now, Kaya, if I'm incorrect, you can just, you can fix that, right? But I have a little about Kaya right here. And it says that Canadian Contemporary Dance Theatre Company dancer or member. She has performed with CCDT for 8 years and was featured in the Gravity's Edge film. As our most senior member, okay, that's for CCDT, Kaya is just leaving the company this summer at 18 and was accepted to top US and Canadian dance programs. She has a great future in dance. So welcome, welcome, Kaya Lee. All right, moving to Jamaica now, we have 2 persons from Jamaica. We have Abigail Boyd. She's 12 years old and she's been dancing from she was 3 years old with the junior department at the School of Dance, Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. She likes all types of dance except for ballet. So that's a little note on Abigail. And then we have Nayla Masters, who is also from Jamaica, and she has been dancing since she was 3 years old under the tutelage of Mrs. Carolyn Russell Smith with the Culture Theatre School of Dance in Mandeville, Jamaica. She's 10 years old and loves to dance very much. And special mention of Mrs. Carolyn Russell Smith, who is also here to join us for the conversation. And she is the daCi National Representative for Jamaica. I also want to welcome Kathy Bond. You know, Kathy, you're like part Jamaican, right? One of the daCi National Representatives for Canada. We have Dr. Susan Koff, who is the chair of the daCi Executive Committee. I believe I saw Mary Elizabeth Manley, who I believe is also the national rep for Canada. Welcome, welcome. So we have people from Canada, Jamaica, Barbados. We're gonna have a great time. So with that long introduction, I'm going to hand it over to our students or dancers who wanna ask questions. Now, how it can go is that while you're speaking, you're on mute, and then once you're not speaking, the Zoom protocols, you mute again. If you want to put something in the chat, feel free. If you want to ask a question, you could raise your hand. I'll try and look out for that. And let's just have a great time. So is there anybody that would want to go first with a question to the 2 main panelists? But you see you have lots of people here, right? But we want to focus on Nancy Francis and Norma Sue Fisher-Stitt, who are the co-chairs for the daCi 22 conference in Canada. So let's take it away. So who's going first? Everybody's frozen. All right, Zaria. I saw you move your hands. So I'll let Zaria go with her first question, and then I'll maybe ask for Abigail to go, and then Kaya, and then Nayla, and then we take it like that. All right, so take it away.
Good afternoon, I'm Zaria, and my first question is, when did she join daCi?
Okay, there was a little bit of feedback, but you were asking when did both persons join daCi?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Or thank you, Sophia, and thank you very much, Zaria. I joined daCi actually only about maybe 7 years ago when I became treasurer. But before that, I did actually, together with a colleague at York, we actually did some research, and we were accepted to present at daCi when it was held in Finland. I can't remember what year that was, but it was quite a long time ago. I was unable to go.
1997.
97, thank you. I was actually unable to physically go to Finland, but my colleague presented the paper, and it was about integrating dance into the school curriculum. So more recently, I was a treasurer, and then now, of course, as you know, I'm co-chairing the conference. So I've been involved with daCi now about 7 years.
So I'll answer that very good question. I happened to finish my first university degree as a teacher the same summer that Joyce Borman and others in Canada, Dorothy Harris and other people started daCi. So my professor of dance said, Nancy, what are you doing next week? I want you to pick up some people from the airport. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I will do that. So I picked up all sorts of people from the airport, which is a funny story in and of itself, because, you know, Canada is different from other countries. And so I had my little car and drove people to the conference, and then, of course, participated in the conference as an observer and a person just to do little tasks. But I was very impressed by, I was 24 at the time. I was very impressed by all these, mostly women, who were so passionate about dance and talked about one another and these children dancing, and it was so very exciting. So I have been a member much of the time since that time, but also there have been other dance organizations in Canada and throughout the world that I've also belonged to. So it's a bit like deciding what kind of apple is your favorite apple when there's lots of good apples. So I've been sort of on and off. And travel, of course, internationally can be expensive. So I have children and a husband, and I've had other responsibilities. So I haven't always been able to attend the conferences, but I've loved the passion of the people involved in daCi.
Nancy, I think that, can I say something? I think that you were a co-representative for Canada with me from 2000, no, was it 2000 to 2003, I think, yeah? So just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, thank you. Who's next with their question? Go, Abby.
Good afternoon. I'm Abigail Boyd, and my question is, how did the daCi group start?
I can actually answer that. Can
You go ahead.
I take a stab at it?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a long time ago, and at that time in Canada, people weren't as specific in their expertise as they are now. So there were actually people who were physical education teachers, who were professors, but were actually coaches, and but also were passionate about dance. So there were, of course, everybody was different. There was a British influence in Canada, as you are familiar with. And so a number of British professors came across to Canada who were passionate about children's dance and had studied with Rudolf Laban. And so those people tended to be friends, and saw each other at various conferences and said, we need something for children's dance. And the two of the, I would say, 5 people who agreed to start daCi were purely dance educators. One had studied with, oh dear, can't remember, was the University of Wisconsin?
Dubler?
Yes, Margaret Dobler. And the other person had studied primarily in England with Rudolf Laban. So those people got together, among others, who said, yes, we need to do this. But it was a shot in the dark. It was hugely risk-taking.
And I think just to add what, how daCi has evolved over time is also really exciting, in that there's always this very, not just a conscious effort, it is a commitment to the young people attending the conference and participating actively in the conference, performing to a certain extent, but also creating new dance works or small dance pieces together during the conference itself. And so having a lot of young people interacting and getting to know one another in ways that otherwise might not be possible for them.
Sorry, can I just add something else? Thank you, Norma Sue. That's a good point. The fundamental premise of daCi was that if old people like us are going to learn to teach children dance and help them really expand their love of dance, then we need to dance together, and we need to study together. So the premise that we need to have children and adults as performers, spectators, and creators. So the children and the adults are creating together, they're observing others together, and they're dancing together. And I love that. I think it's quite profound.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Koff?
Yes, I just wanted to add to that, all those great answers, that one of the keynotes at the conference, which maybe Norma Sue or Nancy want to talk about, is about the history of daCi. So you can get much more information during that keynote. Would one of you like to talk about that?
I can start, and then Nancy's been the one who's really been communicating specifically with Ann Kipling Brown. And Ann Kipling Brown is a very long-serving member of daCi. And she was actually during the Adelaide conference in 2018, Nancy and I discussed it would be really, we thought, a wonderful contribution to be able to gather information from some of the people who've been involved with daCi over the years, and communicating, various aspects of their intentions with daCi and what they've been able to accomplish with daCi. Because even though there is some written work on daCi, it's not as much maybe as there could be. There's history is always unfolding, so it's difficult to keep up with it. But we want people to know the richness of the organization. So I'll let Nancy speak a little bit more, because I know she and Ann have been in communication with this.
Thank you. I think because we're going to be a virtual conference, it enables us to do perhaps much more than we would do just having a panel of 4 or so people talking about the evolution of daCi. So Ann Kipling Brown will be, I believe, putting together a recording of a number of people's views and stories of daCi. So I think it will be a story kind of presentation.
Nice. Sounds exciting. So we have a lot to look forward to for the 2022 conference. And just to say that this initiative, even having this chat, today is kind of looking towards still keeping that momentum. So Dr. Nicolene DeGrasse Johnson, who spearheads that subcommittee of the daCi daCi branded special events that should keep daCi as top of mind. It's really because we would have been, if there was no COVID, we would have been, or been returning from the daCi conference in Canada, right? So I remember being at Adelaide, Australia, and it was announced that, you know, at the final dance party, it was all red and white, and it was Canada in 2021, and it seemed so far away, and everybody was excited. I was like, oh my gosh. And Jamaica was happy because we're like, it's near to us, it's near to us, because it's been so far all along. And exciting things about a big contingent coming, and then there's COVID. But we are resilient. And so even though we're not able to have it physically, there are still opportunities for the 2022 conference, all right? Because now more people can participate, and it can be recorded, and the experience can be shared and even given a broader platform. So there are opportunities involved, but it's just that reminder that 2022 is going to be big. It's going to be virtual, but it's still going to be big and exciting. So all the children, all the schools, we need everybody to be excited about daCi 2022, and that we really show up in the virtual space for now, but actually know that the conference is happening. So we want to say thanks to all those who are working hard to make it happen. All right.
Can I just add something about that? And that is that, in different parts of the world, some places are a little more open for people gathering than others. And I know that when we spoke at one of the advisory board meetings, there's still this opportunity that locally different schools could gather and have like group dance gatherings, right, related to daCi. Or even, Jamaica and Barbados, maybe travel, from Barbados to Jamaica or from Jamaica to Barbados, and have your own little cluster, so to speak, that you're then participating in the various activities related to the conference. So there's lots of opportunities to be really creative of how we are still going to interact, because it's the interactions that are vital. And that's what makes the conference so special. And we don't want to lose that.
Indeed, indeed. All right. So who was next with their question? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kaya. My question is just how many countries are involved with the Dance and the Child International?
As far as memberships go, there's an advisory board, Kai, and I think Susan will know the number better than me, maybe about 32, is that right? It grows all the time as different countries come in. I can tell you that I'm very, very pleased with the range of countries from where we've received proposals already, either for performances or for one of the scholarly gatherings. It includes countries in Africa, Uganda. We have some submissions from South Africa. We have, from Australasia. We have submissions and from all over Europe, from South America, from Brazil. So, and in North America, there's lots of people from the United States and Canada, obviously, as well. So there's a big range of countries, and that gives us an opportunity as dancers, first of all, to participate in lots of different ways of thinking about movement and seeing different groups and their performances. But it's also to learn from one another, from the various papers and what people are thinking about. I do know that one of the submissions I was looking at today is really focused on water and clean water for everyone. And that fits into one of our links with UNESCO and the Sustainable Development Goals that will be part of the conference as well. So there's many aspects, and there's different ways in which people are feeling invited in and wanting to participate.
Susan, go ahead.
So I just went to the website really fast. We have 21 countries represented by a national representative. And in addition to that, we have people coming from other countries because they may just be by themselves. So this is a good time to turn this question back to you. If you have friends in other countries, any of you that you think are interested in what you're interested in, it would be a great time to reach out to them. And that's exactly how Barbados became involved, because of friendships between people in Jamaica and Barbados. So anybody who has an idea like that, please go ahead and call up your friends. It can be a very informal connection, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, great, great. All right, Nayla, are you ready?
Yes, miss. Hello everyone, I'm Nela. And my question is, what is your favorite part about working with daCi?
I can answer that very easily. My favorite part is the children. I'm quite passionate about children. I get teared up about children and the potential for the world and the potential of dance in the world. And I think all children should be able to have the opportunity to dance and dance however they want to dance. And so that's what I love. So I love seeing you on the screen right now. That just makes my day.
I don't have anything to add to that. I think that's the perfect answer, and I echo it.
Yes, that was a good question. I think for me, when I saw the acronym daCi, and I would always get confused as to how it's written, because it's common D, common A, capital C, and common I. And it's always very strange to try and get it right, for people to get it right. But I think once I was like, why is it written like that? And then I realized, oh, dance and the child is the most important part of the organization. And it just made, it made a total difference to me. One, it broke the conforms of an abbreviation, because I've never seen that before. So I thought that was interesting. So it kind of indicated to me what type of organization daCi was, that it wasn't just about being, doing things as persons have done it in the past, but it was breaking the status quo and making the child the most important part of everything that we do. And so, yes, I think that question was brilliant, and the answer was brilliant as well. All right, is there anybody else, even if you're, well, I'll soon come back to any other of the student candidates who want to ask a question, but anybody else want to add to the conversation, want to ask a question, make a comment, go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Cuff.
Okay, so I just want to add to that, though, Nancy, your eloquence cannot be added. It was such a complete statement. But my very first daCi conference, I joined daCi in 1997, which is why I remember that was the Finland conference. And that is, I had already been an academic for years and going to conferences. And that was the first time that instead of just talking about teaching children were actually present. And I was so completely moved by that, to the point that when I went back to some of the conferences that were adults only, I thought they were rather dry and boring. And I thought there's nothing better than actually engaging with the work that we actually were talking about at the same time. So it's the only conference I've ever been to that occurs, even after all these years, and it makes it a really special organization.
I just want to add that in the daCi conferences for our young dancers that are asking questions, it's all about the friendships that we develop. And so knowing that I lived and taught in Jamaica, and I get to see my friends from Jamaica. I've made new friends with this adults that are around this table, that we all want to provide our experiences and our love of what dance and movement is about. So it is the friendships and the relationships that carry us through from one conference to another. And you end up with these friends that are there forever. You guys are way more better at this technology than us older ones, so it's not a big deal. There's my friend Carolyn. See, I get to see her again, and that's really important. So yes, there's all this other stuff, but that's what I wanted to add.
Thanks, Kathy. Anybody else? Go ahead, Mary Elizabeth.
That as an adult, you know, it was just exceptional at the Adelaide conference because we were accepted by the children and by the youth, you know, into their creative process, and that was so much fun. It was just, and I think this is what the conferences are about too. It's not just that it's very academic or, you know, we're talking about, you know, philosophies and so forth, but it's about the process that we become involved in with the children and the youth. And so we kind of become a different person in that respect. And that has been exceptional for me to be able to be involved in those, those times when we are working with the children or dancing with the children and the youth. Yeah. So.
Can I say something, Sophia?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, I can remember joining daCi, I think it's 1995, but my first conference was in 1997. And that's when we lost our entire suitcase of costumes. And we had to turn around and make fashion, basing costume onto persons. It was a very exciting time. And also when we went to where we were staying, we didn't know what Billington was. And it was a culture shock for us. But eventually we settled down and we enjoyed ourselves. It was a very interesting conference that year. Very interesting. And we have friends from ever since until now going to conference. That's one of the beauty about daCi, with impacting lives of children and meeting good friends and lifelong friends.
Yes, I see Lisa Wilson from South Africa. She's giving a round of applause, or is that a raising the hand? Are you agreeing?
Round of applause, agreeing.
Round of applause. Welcome, Lisa, welcome. Right, yes, as you said, losing the suitcase, I believe we also didn't get our suitcases when we arrived in Australia. That's the last conference. And so we had to get a little care package from the airline. I still have mine. We got like PJs, and it was funny. We were all branded Qantas. We didn't have anything. And then eventually we had to get our luggage at the hotel. So it's always exciting. I think the traveling and the, you know, going between flights and you bond with persons, you learn more about persons, you know, you make friendships. And I definitely want to echo the sentiment about really having that intergenerational feel to it. So sometimes in different societies, and you know, there could be a lot about why some societies are like that, you know, but adults are in charge and children are seen and not heard, and children listen to adults and adults don't really listen to children because children may not know everything, and there's this general divide sometimes that you feel. And you go to some place like daCi, and the classes, you're dancing, teachers and students, everybody's dancing together, everybody's, you know, going for breakfast, everybody is enjoying the space. And so it becomes less about how we're divided by our age group and more about, you know, just the love of dance and really learning from the persons that we say we are teaching as teachers, right? So the student voice is really seen as important in daCi. So this conversation we couldn't have without you guys, right? So Abigail, Nela, Kaya, you know, Zaria, you are why we're having this conversation, because of course, if there's no children, then there's no daCi. It just is DAI, which, you know, it just makes more sense, right? So anybody else want to share, or you have another question?
I just would like to, you know, make sure everybody understands that Nancy and I are going to be working, or already are working very hard on figuring out how we can still have some of those experiences where people will be able to talk to one another and share their ideas. Obviously, there will be movement experiences that are shared, but another thing that we're contemplating is the performances will be pre-recorded, but then at the end of each of the performance series, we will want to have as many of the dancers who were in those dances and possibly their teachers available to talk about the work, like how it was that they created this work and what was their experience, so that we will have conversations between, you know, adults, grown-ups, and the young people who are actually in the dances. So that's part of what we are going to be very much focused on, so that we don't lose those opportunities, even though we can't be physically in the same rooms.
I wonder if we should mention too that we have this to the younger people on this call. We have something called creative gatherings, and what we're doing is finding about 10 or so choreographers or leaders or facilitators of dance, and we will put children in groups, children and youth from different countries, perhaps children who don't know each other, and put them in groups, and then the facilitator will work with them every day over the 5 days. And on the 5th day, the Friday of the conference, they will present their dance that's been collectively choreographed. So each facilitator will have 2 groups of younger people, and so with probably the same kind of idea or theme for the dance, but what will end up will be quite different. So there are different kinds of opportunities, workshops, from Luca, who's ambulates, walks with crutches. He's a paraplegic and is a wonderful dancer, and Mabingo from Uganda, whom the youth loved in Australia. So there's lots of opportunities to dance and to share and to meet new people and discuss. So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, I just want to say too that the interesting thing about daCi, and it has evolved over the years, and one of the things that in the initial conferences, the youth were always there, the children were always there, but we didn't hear their voices until I think it was 2000 when Anne Kipling Brown in Regina started some sessions where the youth were really involved in giving their opinions about things or presenting and so forth. So they weren't just kind of a separate entity that, you know, attended the conferences and were participating as far as their, you know, their creative workshops and so forth, but we heard their voices. And that was a really wonderful shift, I think. And that, of course, has continued on from 2000 onward. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it was 2000 when we started to have those sessions, you know, with the youth and children.
There's been a question about how are we going to deal with the time zones, which is a very good question. Nancy and I have had lots of conversations about this, and we're going to have various approaches. There will be probably the schedule each day. Some days it will be a little more convenient for people maybe on the European kind of horizontal or vertical rather. And another day it might be a little more convenient for the people in the Australasia zone, and other days it might be more convenient for the people in the North Americas, Central, North and South America and Caribbean. So we're going to try to accommodate, but at the same time, there will be some activities that will be on a certain day at a certain time, and sometimes those sessions will be pre-recorded. So if it's in the middle of your night, you might be able to look at it at a different time and then maybe come in for the Q&A or not participate. Or the other thing is, when it's live, we will try to record as much as we can for those people who are agreeable to being recorded. So that'll be posted on the website, and sessions will be available after the fact, probably for about 2 weeks, something like that. It won't be in perpetuity. So we're going to try to make it so that some things are going to be in your real time and some things will be in someone else's real time. But it is a challenge, absolutely. And we're trying to think of it as being these 3 different zones, more or less, that we'll be working with. And when Nancy was speaking about the creative gatherings, we will keep that in mind so that no one is being asked to get up at 3 in the morning, to join their creative gathering group, right? That would not be terribly fair.
I do know, just from conversations that we've had with the advisory board over the time when Nancy and Norma Sue, you've come into meetings. Some people have said that if they do a small gathering in their own place, and this is exactly what Lisa's talking about right now, with a small gathering, like let's say, the suggestion was made earlier that maybe there could be a gathering in Jamaica and some people from Barbados could join them, that maybe they'll just be up all night with their creativity and participate with people who they won't be on the same time zone with. So those are things to consider if people have the energy and the wherewithal to do that. And some people may want to join in that way. It seems like, Lisa, you're ready to sign up.
I think that the workshops with Luca and the bingo definitely will be like that, because Luca is doing 1 workshop. He's doing 1 keynote and 1 workshop, and the bingo is doing 2 workshops. So there will be opportunities. And so someone, maybe with Luca, depending on what time his is at, there might be people who really want to participate, but it is 3 a.m. for them. So yeah, it's going to be a very different experience for all of us, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a lesser than. I think it can be a really exciting conference with lots of interaction and people having a good time, dancing together and having fun and learning from one another.
Can I just add that one of the things we've learned from our research is people and our personal experience is we don't want to have the conference like a typical 8-hour day where you stare at this silly box for that long. We don't expect that. So we're thinking more like 4 hours, maybe even 5 hours per day at different times on each day to accommodate people. So, and then we can do things on our own time, as Norma Sue said, like watch perhaps the children's performances or some speaker or whatever.
Okay, thank you for sharing all of that. So it's a lot. It's a lot of things happening, a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of permutations. How could it work? Different ways. So really grateful for that and excited. We could do our own mini thing with our friends and log in to the daCi conference. So there are different ways that you can experience it still together, even though we're not in the same space.
And there's also opportunities for twinning.
Right.
Or doing twinning with another group, which we have a few applications, but we can certainly, I think, take in more if you want to spread the word about that as well.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Caroline, I don't know, you wanted to share a bit about the twinning? Just not, I know you're versed on it, but not like everything, but just in terms of how it works.
I'm not really versed on it, but we're trying because Anna and myself will be from Seattle because we have been working together since the COVID started with our teens, and we are going to do something from what we have extract from what we have been doing so far, because we have done a paper together too with the education department in the States there on virtual teaching. But one of the things I want to say too with the virtual teaching for the conference, we have to make the conference so very active and very, because when you're on the screen, it's different from when you're in person. And if for young people, you have to be so vibrant and get it with them on that they get bored easily. So we have to make it so engaging that they want to come to the conference every day. So I've been trying to stimulate my students, because Jamaicans like to touch and Jamaicans like to meet and greet. So the Zoom thing, we have to be educating them with it. So we have to make it very engaging for this conference. Anything else, Miss Sophia?
No, that was great. That was great. I'm laughing at Lisa's comment about TikTok conference. You know, if you're not on TikTok, right?
That is a personal message, Sophia.
Whoops. I didn't realize I'm the moderator. But it's true. I mean, in terms of, it's interesting how all the social media has gotten shorter and shorter. You know, it's bite-sized now. So like a typical TikTok video, you know, it's very short. So it has to be like short and to the point. So something we have to learn with the children and the age of technology, you know, we have to know to get to the point and get the salient parts across and, you know, engage them. So
I mean, related to that, just so everyone knows, we have put up for papers. Normally it's a 20-minute paper, and we're saying 10 minutes.
Right.
But then you can do your own introduction. So you would introduce yourself and the title of your paper, maybe where you're from, and then 10 minutes. But then we'll have more time at the end for Q&A. So it's going to be a very different experience for the presenters as well. Yeah, and we're trying to keep, like, the workshops will be, you know, 40 minutes.
Right.
And again, because over Zoom, it's just a whole different experience. And people don't have that, they can't do it for an hour and a half. It's just, people lose interest.
Yeah. See, we're on the same page. See, Lisa? We're on the same page. Indeed, indeed. Okay, it's now, I think I have 6 more minutes. It was supposed to be an hour, roughly. So I'm going to throw it out to Naila, Kaya, Zaria, Abigail. Any final questions, burning questions that you want to ask? Now is the time. Go, Naila, go.
I only have one more question. And my question is, how would daCi benefit me or someone else as a dancer?
I'm certainly willing to start, Naila, and then I'm sure Nancy and everybody else here would like to answer as well. I think it's, you know, I remember when I was a young dancer, I only ever got to dance with the people that were at my studio. I didn't really get to dance with other people. And daCi gives you an opportunity to meet dancers from other parts of the world and to meet teachers from other parts of the world, and to participate in dance forms that maybe you've never seen before or never had the opportunity to participate in. Because dance, as you know, I mean, there's so many different ways that people can dance. And we also encourage our young dancers to be creative themselves. So I always talk about your own movement voice. How do you as a dancer want to move? And what do you want to say when you dance? And how would you communicate that within a dance or with another dancer? So there's lots of ways. You know, there's the personal of your experience as a dancer, but it's also you as a person and getting to know other young people, and as it was talked about earlier, forming new friendships. So I'm sure others have other things to say as well.
I don't have anything else to say. I thought that was perfect.
All right. Thanks for the question, Naila. I hope you heard the answer, could think about it. Is there anybody else on the panel? Like, could be Abigail or Zaria or Kaya. You could possibly respond to that. Do you see any benefit in daCi for the dancer?
In terms of me, it helped my technique become stronger.
Okay, all right. Go, Kyle.
I think, yeah, like just hearing everyone talk, it sounds like it's very much of like a connection and very much we're meeting new people. And I think as a dancer and as an artist, it's important that we're not always boxed in within our own community, but to build connections with people that are probably doing something completely different. And that's why like meeting people from like around the world and what they're doing could be completely different. Like if I'm a ballet-based dancer and I'm meeting someone who's like a flamenco dancer, that itself, that connection is extremely valuable to my training and also just like me growing as an artist. So I think these type of conferences where we invite a bunch of artists from around the world and talk, I think is like very beneficial to just growing as an artist. And yeah.
Thanks for that. All right, I have time for one more question. Anybody has a question that they really want to ask? No one? All right. Just wanted to, somebody wanted to ask a question?
Me?
Go, Zaria, go.
What measures are like, what was the procedure they took in terms of planning?
Can you repeat it? I didn't hear it so clearly.
What measures did they take in terms of planning for the event?
So what measures are we taking in the planning? Is that correct? Is that your question?
Yes, please.
Well, you know, daCi has held conferences every 3 years since, 1978. So there are certain pieces of daCi that tend to always happen. So we always have people giving academic papers, and we always have young people performing, and we always have opportunities for everyone to make dances together. So what we have done is we really identified what we could still do in the virtual environment and what maybe could we not do so easily, right? So there are some things that took place in Adelaide that we will not be doing, but there's other things that we can do instead. So it's not a formula by any stretch of the imagination, but we want to make sure that there's activities that everybody who comes will want to participate in, whether it's a movement session, or it's watching a performance, or it's listening to somebody's research. And so we go through, and then right now we're just accepting people's what we call proposals. So someone who wishes to present a workshop, for example, tells us what it is they would like to do. And then we decide, yes, so this is a great idea. And then further down the line, we will figure out how are we going to schedule everything. So it's, there's certain steps, it's a process, right? So we talk about what can we do? We invite people to submit their ideas, and then we put it within a schedule. So we have a program, and then we share the program, and during the conference itself, people decide what it is as a person they wish to do. I hope that answered your question.
Go ahead, Dr. Koff.
A different kind of answer is that for the first time ever, we postponed the conference for a year. And this is because of the pandemic. The conference originally was supposed to be happening earlier this month. And because we were so completely in lockdown and people were so stressed and distressed, we just thought it was not possible to even think about making a proposal. And then the second most important decision that we made, which took a lot of thought and conversation, was now that we've postponed it for a year, what will the conference be like? Are we ready to travel in 2022? And that was a difficult decision to make because, it's really hard to see that far in the future. But we decided, and I'm very happy we did decide to keep it virtual because we still, even today, even at this moment, are not sure what international travel will look like a year from now. And the other thing that's a huge compounding figure is everybody financially has had very tenuous life stories and all that time. So that kind of travel is very expensive. And to plan for that so far in advance when everybody was suffering so much financially and emotionally just seemed really difficult. So the biggest decision we made was to have a conference and to find these other means for us to connect and keep the vision alive, but not have to put people into worse hardship.
And I just want to add, the week that the conference was originally supposed to be held earlier this month, Nancy and I were both so happy that it had not occurred because the weather that week was terrible. We generally have beautiful sunny weather. It rained or there were thunderstorms almost every day. So Nancy and I would have been having heart attacks. So it was a blessing in a way. You know, I'm looking forward to 2022, and I'm looking forward to the one after that when hopefully we'll all be seeing one another in person again.
And just for the record, when is the one after that? What year is that? Is it 3 years after or it's 2 years after?
I'm going to answer that because we haven't decided yet.
Okay.
We're toying with the idea of 2 years after or 3 years after. And the executive committee right now is having that discussion about what would be best. And it's really actually dependent on, you know, where we've arrived in the process of this pandemic, because we have to see what can happen. One of the initial conversations about that, though, is maybe we would plan for a hybrid conference, knowing that different regions of the country may be more ready to travel than others. So we would have some kind of option that would appeal to everybody. So there are a lot of things that come into play. And I'm just going to turn to all the young people here who I hope to see at some point in the conference and say, your feedback is going to be so important, because only you know what you're going through in your home school, in your home country. And we really need to hear from all of you as we try to make things available for everybody in the future.
All right. So is there anybody that wants to say something, ask a question? Now is the opportunity. Not just students, you know, anybody that's here that wants to share something. Go ahead, go right ahead, Mary Elizabeth.
I was just wondering if there are plans for some of the groups around the world to be in the same place where they can all participate together and like take a workshop together, for example, or whether that, you know, if that's happening or not.
I think it's certainly possible, and there's nothing to stop people from doing that. I know that we've had conversations where we've suggested it. So for example, earlier with Barbados and Jamaica, and depending where the pandemic is in different parts of the world, I think that would be a wonderful thing if there could be, you know, kind of more local, you know, dance gatherings, or even, you know, maybe 2 or 3 different countries getting together in one place, or 2 or 3 cities, you know, depending on how large the country is.
I'll add to that, because we are actually very interested in doing something like that. We have Barbados and Jamaica are the only 2 islands in the Caribbean, and we do have connections through Edna College, you know, students, people that we would have studied with over the years or danced with over the years throughout the region. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to invite people throughout the region and other islands to join daCi. And so we have previously spoken and said that it would be great if we could do a Caribbean, like just a Caribbean version of the conference where we come together within our region and then actually take classes together and set it up so that we can all come into the sessions and still have some interaction. It's a little bit easier. We have quite a few islands that have almost like 0 cases or are very low case of COVID in the island. And so we do have travel bubbles throughout the Caribbean region where you can actually go to the different islands without having to have to quarantine before you can go out. So depending on the travel bubbles by then, I'm hoping that at least we will be able to do some kind of regional travel and have the children interact that way.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I hope that happens. It would be, you know, that's the ideal under these circumstances, I think. And with the creative gatherings, while there will be a dance lead who is going to be with the groups every day, we are also going to reach out and ask for a local kind of contact or a local teacher to also be there, so that, you know, while there's the remote lead, there's also going to be someone more physically present in the various studios, you know, when people are together. So yeah, the more we can do, the better.
Indeed, indeed. All right. At this point, I have good news and I have some not so good news. Which one should we have first? Okay, I'll go with the not. Which one?
Always
Not
good
so
news.
good news first.
You want the not? Some say always good news. Some say the not so good news first. Okay, I'll end on the good. So the not so good news is that we have come to the end of this conversation. But the good news is that there is another one on Friday. So the same time, that is 2 p.m. Eastern. We have another conversation on Friday. Please send the Zoom link out. We are also going to record the session. So if unable to make it live, you'll be able to view the recording. I want to say thanks to everyone who participated. All my interviewers, Nayla from Jamaica, Kyle Lee from Canada, Zaria Wade from Barbados, and Abigail Boyd from Jamaica. You did an excellent job. I want to thank very much Dr. Nancy Francis and Dr. Norma Sue Fisher-Stitt and all the other representatives, Shama Harding, Carolyn Russell-Smith, Lisa Wilson, you know, thanks Kathy Bond, Dr. Kampf, you know, chair of daCi. I want to say thank you to everyone. And last but not least, we have Dr. Nicolene DeGrasse Johnson, who was able to join and catch the last part. And I want to say welcome and thank you. Last part. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
for your moderating and organizing.
You're welcome.
Really enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing everybody.
Yes. Thank you, Wave.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Be safe.